right, guys, this is a really, really big game for both sides in this SEC matchup. Texas A&M at LSU, Death Valley at night. For Texas A&M, this game is your path to the playoff. You win this game, and you just have to win one of Missouri, South Carolina, and Texas to punch your ticket in. That gets you to 10. And yeah, you can lose this game and still find your way in, but winning this one, Death Valley at night, feels like that moment for Texas A&M to punch their ticket. There's a lot of work to do, but I feel like that is on the line for this one. But for LSU, man, this is your way back in. This is a game at home against a top 3 team. Your season has not gone according to plan. Backs are totally against the wall. Wounded animal mode, whatever buzzword you want to use. This is the one you have to get. Because if you don't get this one, it's over, and it's over early with a lot of more tough games coming up. So this is a really big game on both sides for 2 completely different reasons, and I really, really can't wait to watch it. I will be in Death Valley, guys. I'll be there cheering on the maroon and white, hoping for a great football game, hoping the rain stays away. There is a rain forecast for this game. We'll see what happens. I think that rain's supposed to float in later in the night, but A&M just went through that last weekend. Slippery field conditions. We saw a few slips. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't ideal. But that could be a part of this game, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let's break down the game. We're going to go through matchups, talk a lot about LSU and what they've shown so far on the year. If you guys could like and sub, that would help me greatly. We just hit 4,000 subs. We're trying to hit 5K before the end of the season. If you guys could help me out, Aggies, of course, if you're just stopping by, just hit that button. It helps me so much. LSU fans, I try to do right by my opponent. I know we've had some bad blood, but I'll try to honestly break this game down to the best of my ability, so a sub would be greatly appreciated. A&M is a 2.5-point favorite on the road at Death Valley. And that is not something I'm used to saying. That's not something I'm used to seeing. I don't even know if it sits right with me. But I think it's the right choice. A narrow favorite. A&M has been the much cleaner, more complete, and balanced team on the year so far. And LSU, it's been a ride, man. It's been a roller coaster. I broke down LSU on this channel going into the year. And my whole thought process on them, coming off of last year, coming off of a strong start to the season, kind of falling apart late due to some defensive deficiencies, and Nuss just throwing too many picks down the stretch, struggling against some mobile quarterbacks. You brought in the great influx of transfer portal players, and they've been some of your best players. Halsey, Delane, 2 of the best DBs in the country. Pyburn's been great. The defensive end group's been great. Harold Perkins comes back. And then this offensive line was obviously retooled. And my whole thing was, neither can be terrible of these 2 areas, offensive line and this defense as a whole, and one must hit the upside. And I think for a few weeks, we thought this defense absolutely hit the upside. But that has slowly come back down to earth, having their worst game of the year, most recently on the road at Vanderbilt. And they're banged up right now, too. They've had some key injuries. Whit Weeks did not play in the game. They're down a couple of guys at defensive end. And I think that has shown a little bit, but there have also been some mistakes defensively for LSU as of late. But it has certainly been good enough as a whole throughout the year. That is just the most recent sample size. I mean, Halsey and Delane are the best A&M will have seen by far all year, and probably the best duo and overall secondary A&M will see on the season. For LSU, the offensive line is the problem for this team. Nussmeier, he obviously has this injury factor, the patellar tendonitis that has been, something that he's been dealing with this season. The mobility isn't there, not a mobile quarterback to begin with. But when you watch LSU, it's kind of sad because you don't see classic Nuss. You don't see the Nuss you saw last year. You see a desperate Nuss fighting for every single pass, passing off of his back foot, having to get the ball out quickly, getting tackled, getting contacted far, far too often. And they're down Tyree Adams, their left tackle. Not like he was playing great to begin with. You put in DJ Chester, who, lost his job this fall camp. You bring in a couple of transfer portal players at center and guard, and those have been their best offensive linemen. But as a whole, the pass protection for this LSU team has left so much to be desired, and it has taken this offense down several pegs on the year. And that is something that A&M will have to take advantage of in this game. You will have to make sure Nuss does not get comfortable. This cannot be the game where Garrett Nussmeier finds that comfort level, is able to look like the Nuss of old. And that receiver core, Nick Anderson hasn't bust onto the scene. Barry Brown's been pretty good. Hilton hasn't gotten going. Aaron Anderson's down with injury right now. But guys like Xavion Thomas, guys like Parker, guys like Trades Green, really good playmakers out there at receiver. Now, their vertical passing game, thanks to guys like Nick Anderson underperforming, guys like Hilton not really having a huge say on the year yet, and quite frankly, just the lack of protection. They do not really have a vertical passing game. Most of their big plays are coming by way of these playmakers just making stuff happen. Xavion Thomas and Trades Green, Aggies, These are the guys you got to tackle. You got to bring them on the ground. You have to generate pressure, whether that takes numbers or just takes winning some one-on-ones. And if it takes numbers to do that, you're going to have guys on islands. You're going to have to make individual tackles at the secondary level. And A&M's been pretty good in that department lately. I think most of the tackling issues have been, some defensive ends, guys maybe out of position, some linebackers definitely out of position versus Arkansas. Secondary, going to have to tackle some guys that can make plays. And Trey'Dez Green, circle his name 5 times in this matchup, because this guy is just learning how to walk right now. This is a young tight end. He's a sophomore, I believe a true sophomore on the year, kind of showed out late last year, and he's gotten better and better as this offense has learned how to better and better utilize him. So Trey'Dez Green, man, they're going to run screen this way and slip the tight end out this way. They're going to slip him out late. They're going to run some trick plays. Joe Sloan, I don't know why they're running these trick plays when they have these players with the talent level that they have, but they'll run some funky stuff out there. And Trey'Dez Green's going to be at the center of that. Xavier Thomas will be at the center of that. Those are guys you got to get on the ground. They have some talent at running back. They're going to a true freshman, Harlem Berry, 5-star running back, really talented player, undersized running back, but he can make it happen. The blocking, in the run department has not been as bad as the pass department, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. They're getting almost no blocking from the tight end position. The defensive tackles are, not great, not terrible. I think the left side's weaker in run block than the right side. Weston Davis is a pretty good run blocker. The interior is pretty good. Don't let this be the game where they establish their run, because that's where you feel like A&M can really just say, halt, we're going to force you to pass. You're going to have 3rd and longs, and A&M can get after it. So when you're looking at the LSU offense versus the A&M defense, I think there's a really good matchup happening outside. I think that's a worthy, marquee matchup. Our secondary versus their receivers is going to be great. I think A&M's secondary has been really good at preventing the big stuff. Some underneath stuff has gotten through. You've tackled well for the most part in these situations in the passing game department. Some run stuff has gotten out versus Arkansas. Those are some lack of eye discipline, lack of gap integrity stuff by the linebacker core in particular. Some nickel stuff by A&M. That has to be better this game. But I think A&M will have an advantage when you're looking at a front 7 versus an offensive line. I think it's a pretty big advantage in this game. So much so, this has to be the game where LSU takes a massive step for them to have productivity. I think A&M's defense, obviously, amazing against offenses that have flaws, that are not high level offenses, and against good offenses. You gave up 33 to Notre Dame. I know you'll see 40 on the scoreboard, but it was 33 because one of those was a blocked punt for a touchdown. You gave up 42 to Arkansas. One was really late in the game when you're playing backed off coverage. They scored with 30 seconds left, but you gave up 42 to Arkansas. Good offenses can get after this A&M defense. That has been the case so far in the year. And I know some people will say, A&M can't defend on the road. I think it's just you're going up against good offenses on the road. And I don't think LSU falls under that category. I think they can be a really good offense. I think they have the tools to do it. But they have not gotten to that level, mostly because of this offensive line. So I see no reason for A&M not to have some success going at this LSU offensive line, making Nussmeier have a long night in Death Valley at home. But A&M has to improve in a big way because they're coming off of a game where in the first half made a lot of mistakes. You can't make those mistakes because anybody can thrive off of those mistakes, even an LSU offense that has a really rough time getting the ball running and protecting the quarterback. So if A&M's defense can return to form, just be what they were the last 3 games, they will be fine on this side of the field. But again, there is high upside to this LSU offense. It is there. They have the players to do it. They have not done it on the year. And at this point, we're week 8 now. You're kind of becoming what you are. Now, there's some incremental improvements that'll come. There's some stuff that'll come. But LSU is in need of a leap here, and that gives me a really good feeling about this side of the ball. Now, talking about LSU's defense, it is really good. And this secondary is the main factor in this. Mansour Delane is probably the leader for the Thorpe Award right now. Absolute lockdown corner, great tackler. On the other side, they go with Woodland, but they're really getting a lot out of the young DJ Pickett, the 5-star corner. He's starting to play more and more, and he has done a really, really good job. But the one that really kind of stabilizes their entire defense is the safety, A.J. Halsey. Stabilizes them in the run game, stabilizes them in that 3rd level, disallowing big plays. They're really good at preventing explosives. So this secondary versus the A&M receiver core, that is a popcorn matchup, man. That is going to be so fun. A&M has a top 3 receiver duo in the country. If you look at the top 3 teams in the country, A&M's in there. All those teams have good receiver cores. A&M falls right in that category. It's going to be a really fun matchup out there. Now, where LSU has been kind of struggling lately, specifically versus Vandy, is some of that eye discipline stuff, outside contain, coming from defensive ends, in particular that linebacker position. They did not have Whit Weeks in the game. He comes back. That can help them a lot. Jack Pyburn playing that game hurt. That hurt them in the game. He wasn't himself in that game. We'll see what his status is this week. They're down Gabriel Relaford. I believe they had their backup. Jamiri Butler was down in the game as well, so they're shallow at defensive end, and I think that showed a little bit in the game. But where they really, really struggled was one guy. Harold Perkins had himself an absolute stinker versus Vanderbilt. Taking bad angles, making bad decisions, lack of efforts on some plays. And they have him playing kind of the nickel / outside linebacker role. It's very much a hybrid role. He's their leading snap player on their entire defense. He plays a lot, and they move him around and adjust him based on the look, but he stays in the game. When they go to their nickel package, they take a D tackle out, and they move Perkins into a pass rush role. But in the plays where he's not just pinning his ears back and pass rushing, and even there he's lacked discipline, he takes the bait. He gets caught up on play action. He will, chase the fake, handoff on the jet sweep player. He'll just, not make an effort at the goal line. He will, take a bad angle containing a quarterback. You have to exploit that if you're A&M. That has to be something they see, and there has to be some, cognizant effort to attack that for this LSU defense. Their linebacker core is solid. Right now, it's West Weeks, the brother of Witt, and Keys. I forget his first name. It is Davon Keys. Really good tackler, really physical linebacker. I really like their linebacker core. I mean, Harold Perkins has been kind of, very talented, but mistake prone. You got to get these guys confused. And I think A&M has the offense and the tools and the willingness to do it. We've seen the jet sweep stuff just kind of ramp up over the last few weeks. You've seen a lot of play action that works really well for A&M. You've seen quarterback run, you've seen zone read, and I think that's the kind of stuff that can get to this LSU defense. But that is a defense that is much closer to their upside than the offense. And if they're going to make this a game, it will be shutting down this A&M offense. Let's talk about some keys to the game for A&M and LSU. For A&M, I think the number one overarching key, and I know LSU fans don't want to hear this because that kind of it takes some agency out of their side of this thing, but I really feel like A&M's the team playing better football right now. It's you can't beat yourself. If LSU gets into this game, it's because you're having short possessions offensively. You're giving them more more bullets in the chamber to get that offense going. You can't throw picks, and you really can't have penalties in this one. Just do not shoot yourself in the foot, because I think there are some short yard gains, some under 10-yard gains to be had against this LSU defense. You feel like that is a defense that can bottle up A&M's explosives, and A&M hasn't been particularly explosive, in the big explosive realm in recent weeks. They've been more of a kind of chip away offense, and that's been really good for them. And I think that can be there for A&M, but you just can't give them the ball. You can't give them more chances. You can't just miss. You can't make bad quarterback decisions. But we've seen Marcel do nothing but improve, and it's been a very kind of methodical improvement over the weeks for Marcel Reed. So I think A&M's in a decent position here to at least, not give this game away. And that's exactly what the challenge is here. Because this is a night game in Death Valley. And no matter what you say, no matter how you break this game down, that's a hard place to win. That's a really hard place to get things right. So if you're LSU's offense going up against this A&M defense, where has A&M's defense really been weak? In the games where they've been bad, it's been open field tackling. It has been, gap integrity. It's been kind of the stuff that's underneath that can blow up and go further. And it's some zone defense, lack of discipline, lack of getting depth, not a great feel in zone coverage at times. So I think if LSU's going to make this thing happen for them, it's kind of where they're strong. It's if they can get Xavion Thomas in space and, have these linebackers have to chase him around, or have the nickel have to chase him around, and he can bust off some 15, 20-yarders. A&M has to be really, really good at tackling that department. And A&M cannot let him sit back and hit the deep ball, and that hasn't really been there for them this year. But tackling. And for LSU, get those playmakers involved in the short game and see what they can do, especially Trey'Dez Green. He is a hoss to take down. And A&M is really, really small at the nickel position. You're going to have safeties, matching up with him. You're going to have linebackers having to bring him down. Got to do it. That's where they're really, really strong. So here's my score prediction on the game, guys. I've seen a lot of y'all commenting and some of y'all projecting 20, 15, 17-point wins. Well, I think that's a possible outcome here. I just feel like LSU makes this a fight. I feel like this is a desperate team, backs against the wall, all the buzzwords like we talked about at the top of the show, and it's Death Valley at night. And I think this is a very, very uncomfortable game for A&M. I think this is going to be LSU's best showing. But I also know this is the best team that LSU's faced this year. So I have A&M getting kind of a narrower victory compared to some of what the Aggies think, but actually a cover on what Vegas thinks. It's only 2.5. And I have A&M winning this game 31-24. So guys, give me your score predictions. Give me your keys to this game. Give me your read on this game. I'm going to go live Thursday night, chance for you guys to call in. If you call in with the correct score prediction, I'll get you on the Hall of Fame on that board behind me when I'm standing up doing the live streams. That is on display, and you will see your name in the backdrop of this show for weeks to come. We're going to add another name on Thursday to that board because we had Play to Win get that thing right for the game versus Florida. He got the score prediction right, and I mailed him a letter because we actually raised the stakes in that one because no one was getting it right. So congrats, Play to Win. You'll have a chance to do that. Tune in for the Thursday live show. I will see you guys soon. I'll be at the game. I'll try to bring you a post-game reaction right after that game concludes, and hopefully A&M comes out on top because this is the key to everything they want. They have laid the groundwork. They got through that critical home stretch and Arkansas that they just had to get through and win to unlock everything in this more difficult later portion of the year. And now you're here. You're face to face with it. You get this one, you get the bye week, you get to regroup and rest to go into this, critical stretch at the end. But if you get this one, you'll feel really, really good about your chances to do it. And do not let LSU get back into this season. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you drop a sub. I'll talk to you soon. Gig 'em.